Hello, welcome to Breakfast Central, your #1 stop shop for everything informative, insightful, and of course, the latest news in the country and around our great continent, Africa. I'm Benga Abora. You're welcome to Breakfast Central.
I'm Olive Emodi, excitedly sending warm greetings to all the Arsenal fans in Nigeria, around the world. It's a pleasant morning to be an Arsenal fan or to be a friend of an Arsenal fan. I guess last night came as a shocker, but a pleasant surprise. 3-0 is what we did not see coming. You know, we never saw this coming.
Against Real Madrid, I mean, come on. You have to give it to the Gunners. But it's not yet over. Joe, do you think it's over?
Joe, what do you think?
It's not yet Uhuru.
Exactly.
You know.
When did you see that 3-0?
But let's be honest.
Honestly, that was
well done, Arsenal.
Pleasant surprise.
Take your flowers.
But they'll be going to the Bernabeu against Ancelotti's Real Madrid. Star-studded Real Madrid. Come on.
I mean, it's a special shout out.
They shouldn't over-celebrate.
No, they should do. They should. See, as an Arsenal fan, you take whatever win you can get.
That's true.
In this moment, telling them not to over-celebrate in case because the truth is they may not perform. You understand? So now, celebrate all you can. You know, special shout out to all our Arsenal friends. I have some Arsenal friends who I know that today their pride is going to be off the roof. The likes of Udoka,
have you seen the way
Mairo, Obinna.
Did you see the way Arsenal fans slept yesterday?
Yes.
They slept like this on the bed.
In fact, one of my friends says all through this week he can't wait to wear his Arsenal jerseys. He's going to wear one today to the airport. That when he gets there, he will change into. No, he has many Arsenal jerseys.
Okay,
he buys at least 3 Arsenal jerseys every season. Okay. So he has a lot of Arsenal jerseys. So congratulations to Arsenal. While this victory lasts, enjoy it, and we wish you all the best in your journey going forward.
I hope this victory would lead into them picking the trophy for the UEFA Champions League.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, if they can move on with this same spirit, it will be a good thing to see Arsenal win the Champions League, having not
for the first time in their history.
For the first time in their history. I mean, Arsenal Champions League, that would be like fantastic. I mean, after Chelsea,
but like they say in football, anything is possible.
Anything is possible in football.
Anything is possible.
But everything is possible, not just in football, also in River State. You have been following up with the updates regarding the administration, the appointment of the sole administrator. He's taking an oath, the suspension of the governor as well as the lawmakers. The lawmakers refusing to be bound by the shackles of suspension and taking matters into their own hands, ensuring that
making the best of it.
Exactly, making when life throws them lemons, they're making lemonade. So they've taken this otherwise terrible situation and made the best out of it. Lawmakers are currently in the UK enjoying the spring, you know, the lovely weather, and you know, the
enjoying their lemonade in the UK.
Exactly, in the UK. And the important thing there is it's not River State money. They're very clear to specify. Recall that they haven't been paid because of the ongoing
several months
between them and the governor of River State. So the question was not like who was their sponsor.
They don't look like they've not been paid for months. They look well fed. They're all smiles. And we asked that question, who was their sponsor?
I remember I read an excerpt from their Thanksgiving or their press statement where they were thanking their political leader, U.S. Africa, as well as the good people of River State for standing by them. Well, good news, they were hosted to a celebratory dinner yesterday in the UK by the FCT Minister, U.S. Africa, and you can see them all smiles and happy.
Wow.
Can we infer or conclude that the FCT Minister was their sponsor?
Well,
since he hosted them.
No, we can't infer because I mean we don't have any clear information.
But we can speculate or allege.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Everybody think that you must enjoy what you enjoy. Agreement is agreement.
I love it. They look so happy. You know what this thing is giving? It's giving as they sweet us, they paying them. That's what it's really giving.
How do you think the other faction will feel?
Which faction?
The one that is based in Port Harcourt. Maybe 2 or 3 of them that are left out behind. They are not in the UK.
You guys do that.
They are not in the UK because they don't want to travel.
You do that dance every day.
That's a weekend. That's the dance, right? Okay. But it's a great time for them. But beyond what's happening in the UK, there's also further drama happening in River State. The sole administrator has been on an appointment spree, appointing local government chairmen, I would believe. But then the reports we're getting is that the court has jumped in to stop any further appointments. Some are asking, why is he functioning like a governor? Why is he coming and, hiring and firing? Exactly.
Yes.
It just feels like he's turning things around. Word on the street is that he's destabilizing Signal Ifeanyi's political structure, is what they're saying in the grapevine. However, there are those who would say he doesn't have the power to do all of that. What's the constitutional power, or what's the constitutional support, or the backing for him to do the firing and the hiring and the presentation of the budget? This same budget that Ifeanyi could not present to the House, that was his major area of dispute. But the other argument is, if he's to be in power for 6 months, he's to be in office for 6 months, systems and structures have to be put in place. The government has to run. So is he going to do it in a silo?
Well, there's also a question that he didn't meet his structure there. He could have just worked with the structure.
Which
that he
budget
had,
would he have used, for example?
Yeah, I mean, after
budget
all, he still has a budget.
But the budget hadn't been passed.
Yes, but now he has a budget.
And they're permanent secretaries.
Yes, I mean, the permanent secretaries as well. So he could have just decided to have worked with the permanent. You see, that is what you get when things are not done constitutionally or constitutionally.
Well,
everything
he will do what he needs to do while he's at the helm of office.
But then again,
when he leaves, if Ifeanyi comes back, he will dismantle and remantle.
So this is it's just an ad hoc measure.
It's an ad hoc measure, but is it really benefiting the people of Rivers State?
I'm sure
Benefiting them? I mean, they've been talking online. If you go online, they've been saying that they're not really benefiting from this ad hoc process, and it doesn't seem good. It doesn't look good for Nigeria's constitution.
I mean, in fairness, what were they, when the governor and the House of Assembly were also fighting at loggerheads? We didn't see much progress in the state because of this. Anyway,
what I'm going to say is, Benga, sorry to cut you in, Justice Adamu Turaki Mohammed granted the order in suit number, of course, the number that filed by a Pilex Center for Civic Education Initiative. Funny enough, it was filed by a civil society organization, of course, led by Courage Sirimovu against the sole administrator, and that led the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt to tell him, hey, please stop, you can't do that.
You're overstepping your boundary.
Yes, you're overstepping your boundary, but we all know where we're going to next, from the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt, where we move into.
Appeal,
of course, the appeal from appeal, it goes like that. So, but 6 months is going to run through very quickly. We've already done 1 month, a month down, 5 months to go, and let's see what it looks like. Anyway, away from that story, yesterday there were rumors and stories that some thugs went to the Labour Party office here in Lagos. They said the thugs were numbering up to about 100 and above, and they carted away with items, documents, money, and so on. People asked questions: what were the security operatives? How are you sure these thugs came from a different space? And aside that, people are now linking it to what Joe Ajero, of course, NLC president, had said, that they need to take over the Labour Party offices because the man himself, who happens to be the one who has been ousted by the court, in quotes, doesn't want to leave office. He says, no, he's still there. We've talked about this case of recent. I'm talking about what the Labour Party is battled chairman again. So because of that incident yesterday, people don't know if the thugs who came were sent by the Nigerian Labour Congress,
of the NLC,
or they came out of their own volition from nowhere. But then again, yes, this is the statement that was released by the NLC, and they said, Nigerian workers, genuine Labour Party members and lovers of democracy, be on standby.
Stand guard, alert.
Be ready, take courage. We're about to hit the streets and hit the ground running. That's what
they really did hit the ground running.
Yeah, but yesterday they don't know who hit the ground running yesterday. If it was from them or it was from a different faction entirely. What we see here is a complete dismantle, breakdown, and a complete, I would say, what's that word I'm looking for? Let's say a subtle dismantling of the Labour Party. It's like removing nuts from equipment and the bolts, because it starts to lose, all parts. It starts to lose its strength, its ability to stand, and so on. And that's what's going on in the Labour Party. But
there's a danger of resorting to self-help. It's not. You're not in the position. I don't think the NLC is in the position to go and physically remove or take laws into their hands. The young man, Mr. Abure, is only releasing press statements. He's not doing anything. He's claiming to be still be the Labour Party chairman.
Right.
If you disagree with him, you can go back to the court.
You can go to the court for the interpretation.
Yeah.
One, for the interpretation, since what we're starting to see is the multiple explanations to the court judgment. So go back to the court.
I want to ask you this as a lawyer. Why do we always have multiple interpretations? It's the judgment is always written in plain, simple English. Is the English different? Is UK English different from Nigerian English? No, jokes apart. I mean, this is a brother to sister.
Because with law is a very technical angle, it's a very technical course, a very technical path where even in court is why you can come to the court and ask for one thing and then your case can be thrown out because of a technical irregularity. So sometimes it's why the laws would always try as much as possible to leave out any room of ambiguity. That's why they say there are interpretation clauses for a number of these, a number of the laws, and when there's a judgment you do not understand, you can always go back. So in a way to, just so that, because the truth is people are mischievous. People will always be mischievous. People hear what they want to hear. You tell somebody something, they will interpret what they want to
Mr. Abure, regardless of the numbers that are saying this, is not even a game of, oh, do I agree with it? Is what the court interprets it to be. Mr. Abure is still saying, look, that interpretation did not say I'm not Labour Party chairman.
You know,
yeah,
it's the Supreme
Court. After that, now the next thing is you go to God.
Yes.
You know, so after the Supreme Court, where do you go to?
God.
Do you go to Wike?
You go to God.
Rather, do you go to Hague or
no,
take our issues outside the country and to the international community?
You know, I think that the challenge here is the manner in which this has been handled. Again, it reiterates our disrespect for court processes. If our country, if we get to a point where we can trust the judgment of the court and the implementation, where we can trust that where you defile a court order, there'll be consequences for disobeying the court order, then we'll start to see less and less of this. For those who are trying to forcefully take over, I don't think that that's a better approach. You can go to the court for the court to, ensure that there's an execution of the court judgment. I don't think it's well within your power to then say, oh, I want to forcefully go. Even, for example, in landlord-tenant wahala, I don't know that it's the landlord that will go there and be like, you can go to the court. Then the court will then give a judgment and then can help with the execution of the judgments.
I really hope Mr. Arabame was not at the office yesterday when those guys...
No, he was not there.
But he promised us that they are gallant.
He was not there. He said they are standing tall.
Joe, thank you so much for that security report. We appreciate it.
Okay. Let's move away from that to our final step.
Okay. And I mean, this is what you call supporting each other in love. You know, when you take your marriage vows, you say for better, for worse, in goodness and in health, in lawsuits and in lawsuits, in defamation and defamation, we block you from both sides. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is still in the news, whether you like it or not. She's decided to file a 5 billion naira defamation suit on Senator Nwaboye. What happened? So News Central granted Senator Nwaboye an interview on one of our news programs, and he decided to say things that were not very palatable, defamatory things that you listen to and you shake your head. I mean, any human being that listens or watched that interview would tell. But let's take a listen.
Accused of sexual harassment.
Accused Reno Mokri of sexual harassment during the time of Goodluck Jonathan as president, when the young man was already in U.S. attending to national issue. But unlucky to her, she didn't know that this young man was outside the country. Upon the slightest provocation, she will come up with allegation of sexual harassment. And I don't know what is wrong with this lady. Does she think that she's the most beautiful woman on earth? Or is it because she's had chocolate color? In my own assessment, she's not among the beautiful women in Nigeria. And it is high time we come hard on her. And why people like us are speaking on top of our voice is not just to protect and defend the Senate president, but to protect and defend her future victims. Even her present husband, she married her out of something like this. She threatened to sue the man and have a letter circulating over the world that the man should pay her 10 billion or marry her. The man had to marry her under duress. So the marriage was under duress, another product of blackmail. And was watching a video of how the wife, the father of the first wife of the husband, narrated her ordeal when this lady came into their family, destabilized their family, and took over her husband. All right. And without going into her character, I asked Mr. Natasha how many husbands has she had in her life at the age of 47 or 45.
I mean, this is classic character assassination, very misogynistic statement. I mean, the whole rap shit is just there. And I'm glad the husband took the legal steps to file a defamation suit. Now she's also filing a defamation suit.
I think our lawmakers should know that they are called lawmakers for a reason. Being a lawmaker simply means that you've accepted to follow the tenets that guides the Constitution, one. Two, even your representation. It matters a lot. And I think it's cheap score for you to, rather than talk about issues, you talk about people's lives.
What does that have to do with Senate processes?
I mean, how does it concern me that Benga likes to eat fufu and eba, in the morning?
Actually, it's pizza.
Okay, pizza, sorry. Yeah. Did you say pizza?
Pizza.
Okay, pizza.
Okay.
Right. Yeah,
So,
I just wanted to be sure.
he has a right to say whatever he wants to say, right? Freedom of speech is a right guaranteed, enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Freedom after the speech, however, I cannot guarantee.
There are consequences.
There are consequences. He has a right to make whatever allegations, which is why there is a court of competent jurisdiction. He's been asked to come to the court, and I hope he has his evidence to prove all that he has said, because, the statements were, like you said, reeking of misogyny, reeking of, it just felt like...
Talk about chocolate color too.
I think this is the real chocolate color. If you're talking about chocolate color, this is chocolate color.
Thank you so much.
Is it chocolate?
It's chocolate and caramel.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, yeah.
Thank you. But we will be following up with that case there. He's been asked by a number of organizations to apologize to Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduara, not just to apologize, but also to, take that back. It happened here. In fact, I saw a particular request asking for him to apologize on the same News Central.
Yes, it was
where the husband,
yes, the husband, yes.
The same News Central where he defamed her.
We're opened, Senator Mwebe. We're opened.
It has to pay for airtime.
I mean, we look forward to just join us and let's do this. You see, just to state this clearly, guys, if you permit me, I think the country has been on a standstill, somewhat, somehow, because of internal issues that could just have been solved with, I am sorry, I moved your seat. Please, Senator, this happened to me too as a Senate President in my time, and I did not act right the same way. So I've played back what happened, and before my colleagues here, Senator Natasha, I am sorry. Please, take it in mind that it happened in good faith. I may not have informed so and so.
And all of this would have been avoided.
I know I made a mistake, so and so. Case closed. Then others who had met with her would have also said, you know what, imagine standing up and also speaking, representing so. We are sorry if we acted in this manner. We'd like to move ahead. We have a lot of things to do for the country. We wouldn't be here.
Absolutely. We would have wasted all this time.
So sometimes I'm sorry.
And then there are layers and layers upon it. I mean, the accusation is not even against Senator Nwako. He's defending someone that hasn't even come out to defend himself.
Classic case of drinking Panadol for another person.
Exactly. Now the court says nobody should grant interviews again.
Even though that was very obvious.
Undemocratic.
No, it was very obvious who that was targeted at.
Senator Natasha.
No. That one is just in the interest of good faith. Like, so two of you should not talk, but he hasn't been talking. It's just Senator Natasha that has been speaking. But this case feels like an onion. You peel one layer, there's another layer there. You keep seeing it layer by layer by layer, and we'll continue to bring you the updates regarding the stories. But these are our wake-up conversations. Let's now share with you our top stories this morning on Breakfast Central. Parties' chances and prices will be in focus at the core of our conversation this morning. And still looking at northern Nigeria, we're looking at the fresh concerns that have mounted as insecurity grips the north. 16,000 doctors left Nigeria in 7 years, Minister says. The newspaper front pages will be reviewed, and we open the phone lines so you can share your thoughts as well for all these and more.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. In Nigeria's northeast, Borno State Governor Professor Babagana Umara Zulum has raised concerns over the rising threat of foreign terrorists infiltrating into Nigeria, specifically through Borno. The governor also raised alarm about the transfer of high-level military equipment from the northeast to other regions, making the northeast vulnerable. News Central's Umaru Kirara completes the report.
The battle for peace building in the insurgency-ravaged northeast Nigeria is continuing. Reversal of gains in the counter-insurgency effort is what the northeast is witnessing, with increasing sporadic attacks on resettled communities. A cause of concern as Borno State government convenes high-level security meeting with traditional leaders and security agencies.
Virtually, the Northeast is now standing alone. No attention will be receiving from the Ministry of Defense in terms of equipment and others. While we are saying we appreciate them, this is time that they should also give us a listening ear. Otherwise, the security situation in Borno State has started deteriorating. And it is our own duty to inform the federal government of the dangerous inherent in what is recently been happening in the state. A lot of foreign insurgents are coming into Nigeria. So if nothing is being done, the state will be in turmoil again. I believe the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will not accept this one.
Abadam, Marte, Kuzamala local government areas in northern Borno, among other selected communities in both central and southern Borno, remain largely inaccessible due to the presence of terrorists.
Our government will continue to support our defense and security agencies while pushing them to perform better in encountering terrorism, insurgency, and criminality.
All these problems were masterminded, brought, and injected by settlers. By settlers in the sense that they used to come to Borno in disguise to acquire Quranic education, to acquire Western education, Arabic education, local business, etc.
The stakeholders' call for military action comes at a critical time, as several attacks have resulted in casualties and significant destructions. While discussion is still ongoing on how to strategize towards addressing the rising security concerns in the northeast, urgent and deliberate efforts are needed to safeguard lives and properties as well as forestall future security vulnerabilities. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Thank you very much, Umaru Kirawa, for that report. We, of course, will be keeping up to date with as much details as we can get, and we hope that you all stay safe as well. We're going to a quick break, and when we come back, we have more conversations to explore this morning on Breakfast Central. We begin our top story conversations this morning by taking a look at the rising state of insecurity in northern Nigeria, an issue that has sparked serious concerns across the nation, with over 50% of Nigeria's earnings reportedly spent on combating insurgency. The situation appears to have taken different dimensions following recent attacks in Boko's Jos and comments credited to Governor Zulum of Borno, raising the alarm, stating that they were losing ground over attacks by insurgents in Borno State. We'll take a broader look at the implication of these attacks. Joining us for this discussion this morning is Lawrence Alobi, former Commissioner of Police in the FCT. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. I think a good way to set the tone for the conversation would be to ask for your general overview of the security situation in the country, especially looking at northern Nigeria and the recent attacks they've had to deal with.
Yeah, thank you very much. Every Nigerian will agree with me that the situation of the country is very disturbing and embarrassing. People cannot go about the local duties without intimidation, without fear. The roads are not safe. People are now compelled to go to fly to wherever they want to go to, and are restrained from even traveling. Like you mentioned, the northern part of the country, it is actually very, very disturbing there. You go to a time when even bandits even had control of local government, they had to hoist their flags, and that is not allowed anywhere. In a country, a sovereign country, terrorists will hoist their flag, and now live people are living in terrible fear. People cannot go to their farms. Some countries are farmers. They basically live on farming. That's a means of livelihood. They cannot go to farm. They cannot open their homes. It is very, very, very disturbing. That's why every Nigerian, the government in particular, in line with Section 14B of the Constitution, provides that the prime purpose of government is security and welfare of the citizens. But I know the government is trying. They have voted a lot for security, and security agents are also trying, but they are most being overwhelmed because of the humanitarian news. So the way things have snowballed so far, not only in the north, all parts of the country. So I think Nigerians should also arise to say no to this menace, these challenges. Section 24E provides that every Nigerian citizen has a concern to assist the security in of law and order. I mean, I'm also enthusiastic or willing to assist the agency, the police in particular, which is the lead agency, internal security. How are we willing to give information to the security agency and to the police? How are we willing to support the police, like all well-meaning Nigerians, average Nigerians, rather than assisting the police with equipment? Some police divisions don't have patrol vehicles. You have communication gadgets. How can they communicate? How can they how can they patrol the community? How can it so forth? The police are poorly paid. The welfare is not right. The worst as I know in the world. They are gross understaffed, ill-equipped, and so forth. And we are just less than 500,000 policemen policing over 200 million people. In a society where the security agents are not even appreciated, where there is this trust deficit, people are not willing to cooperate with the police and other security agencies, they want to come up with information, and they're even trying to conceal to protect the terrorists too when it's with their interest. So these are very disturbing situations that we should all arise to say no and put a stop to it.
Very disturbing situations indeed. And in your overview, you did mention that farmers can farm. Beyond agriculture, what are some of the impact? Because quite a number of Nigerians, they don't understand the gravity of this insecurity. They just, we've become so desensitized to it, and all they see is numbers and figures, and they also see the government response of almost copy and paste condolences. We're getting to the root of this, we're working on this. What are some of the impacts of this insecurity crisis in northern Nigeria on the well-being, the socio-economic well-being of the people that reside in these parts?
Security is a potent driver of sustainable development. Development, when people talk about development, talk about growth. Before growth, we talk about figures. I'm an expert in development studies. You see, development concerns the welfare of the people. What is happening to poverty? What is happening to unemployment? What is happening to the gap between the rich and the poor? What are the welfare of the people, infrastructure, and so forth? This is what is about development. And this has affected dangerously. The security has affected because the lack of insecurity has affected all these things, that which are supposed to be needs, not even desires. Because these are needs that the people need to sustain the people, so they are no longer there. So it is becoming very disturbing. So if the government and we Nigerians address the issue of security squarely, I can assure you we will have development, we have good governance, and of course some of the things that instigate insecurity, like things like corruption, is also one of the bane that has permeated the society. When sometimes money is voted for things that will contribute to the security and development of the country, unscrupulous people will take unpatriotic Nigerians will siphon that and think that for them the same power is to how to loot, how to impoverish the people, and so forth. And I don't think that is the best for any human being. That's not why man was created. Man was created to contribute towards the well-being of the people, towards the betterment of the society. And service is what should give every human being a joy. You and I, in a very location we are now, we are enjoying free oxygen. We're not paying anything to Almighty God. We're enjoying free life, free world, free sunshine, free rain. And then man being a Homo sapiens, I'm a sociologist and anthropologist. Man is a Homo sapiens, the highest creature, the highest being that was created by God, the only creature that has soul, and yet we cannot manifest God. The same man, God created man in his image and likeness. How do we manifest the image of God in us? The image of God in us is not my big head and so forth, our physical body. Those attributes of God, do we manifest in our life? We say we are Christians, we are Muslims, we are this religion and so forth. We manifest the teachings, the divine teachings of these religions in our life. Show that you are a Christian by the way by your life, through your Muslim by your life. No religion will say go and kill anybody. No religion will say go and steal. No religion will say go and be corrupt. It's all about good character, saintly behavior, integrity. They don't have their true integrity to the board. For us, money and power. And the young ones, what are we inculcating our young ones? It's unfortunate. Our youngs I pity the young ones because in today Nigeria is not fixed. The future of our young ones, who are supposed to lead us for tomorrow, will be very, very bleak. They'll be inheriting a very terrible Nigerian society. So I think it's very disturbing. Insecurity, the magnitude, the degree of insecurity in this country has permeated has caused so much harm to our psyche, to the economic development of our country, even our politics. Look at our elections. It's characterized by violence, killing, maiming, bombing, and so forth. What? Is that why we're created by God to destroy? Man was created by God to destroy. Man was created to build, to contribute towards progress and development. How we contribute, we should reflect in our life. How we contribute to the coming to our betterment of our community, our families, our community, and our nation. That's what gives us at the end. You see, my religion teaches me one thing. When all of us were in our mother's womb, we had the legs, the feet, the eyes. We never used those physical organs while in the womb. We're preparing ourselves to come to the physical world. With these organs, the hands, the legs become functional. We cannot be used. In this world, we are preparing. We have to prepare our spiritual organs, prepare for the spiritual world, and that preparation is here to live a good life in line with the teachings of God. Those things that are worthy in the sight of God. That's what God wants from us. So, but we have thrown all those to the mud because we are so oppressed by materialism, so oppressed by power. We don't care any longer. We allow sentiment, emotion because of our sense of judgment and reasoning. We don't think about the other people's feelings. We don't think about other people's feelings. We don't care. It's sad. It's sad. So I think may God help us to discover ourselves and come out from this quagmire that we are facing in the country today.
Okay. All right, Mr. Lobek, just very quickly, I would like you to, how would you compare the security architecture that we have today compared to your own time That's one. I'd like you to, tie the answers to these questions. How would you compare the security architecture that we have today compared to your time? And you've been a strong supporter of the president, believing that since his appointment or since he became president of Nigeria, you said that you're certain that security will be nipped in the bud. If you were to advise the president this morning, what would you tell him concerning insecurity in Nigeria?
Yeah, one thing I like about Mr. President is a man of courage. He's a man who is assertive, and a leader must have courage and must be assertive. A leader will not be like a leaf in the wind. When they blow this side, if the wind blows, you blow this side. Must be firm, must be focused, and Mr. President is focused. The challenges have been there before he came on board. But then, the point is that he can't do it alone. We all have to join hands and do it together. It's our country. Everybody is advised that we Nigerians at all levels, we have a duty, we have a responsibility. According to Section 24 of the Constitution, which is our constitutional role to assist civil agents in maintaining law and order. Are we sincerely doing that in our individual capacity and cultural capacity? You see, the point is that leadership is all about service. Leadership is, you have to be humble as a leader. Because you have most of the commitment. If we control moral leadership in the country, then this country will move forward. Moral leadership. If we forget about corruption, about power, about self is a busy attitude. You have to be altruistic, what you think how to contribute, what you want to add value, what you have to sacrifice. Life is about sacrifice. And without sacrificing life, we don't achieve success. If we want to gain, we are not concerned with our needs, desires, want.
Right,
you cannot meet your want. And God cannot meet your want. That's why we keep on getting involved in corruption, in trying to loot, trying to scheme others, trying to admit others, and so forth. But what require in this country cooperation, unity, love, and understanding. Right. We should be like fingers of one hand. We should work together. When the fingers of our hands are not to equal size, so also Nigerians are not all of equal rank, equal capacity. But we can cooperate together and collaborate together and work for the good of this country. Putting aside our religious sentiment, that's what has now the religious sentiment, ethnic sentiment. These are two things that have become as haunting us.
Absolutely. Religious and ethnic sentiments have been a major challenge that we have had to deal with because we've been unfortunately divided along those lines. But we'll continue to raise awareness with conversations like this and voices like yours that constantly speak for unity. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we wish you a wonderful rest of the day, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me too.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
All right. We'll now move over to our next conversation where we'll be unpacking a major development in international trade as Nigeria's response to former President Donald Trump's tariffs, which includes a ban on 25 U.S. products. This move has sparked debates on trade relations, on economic implications, and the broader impact on both nations. We're looking at the Trump administration, of course, has imposed sweeping tariffs on goods from several countries, including Nigeria, with a 14% tariff on Nigerian exports to the U.S. Joining us for this discussion this morning is Dr. Nnaemeka Obiareri, investment banker and public affairs analyst. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Olive. Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll come into the conversation proper, but let's take a look at this video. Hopefully bring the video before we wrap up the conversation. But Doctor, all right, that's it here.
Really quite sensational, but for Nigeria, I would say that conservatively, we're in quite a good space. However, this disruption affects the entire world, the entire trading system, and therein lies the danger. We don't want the global economy to go into a recession. We don't want retaliation. You know, Africa is kind of insulated from global trade because we're just less than 5%, like about 3% of global trade. So the players that really dominate, we don't want that retaliation, and then we end up being collateral damage or the unintended consequences.
We apologize for that mix-up. But we are joined, of course, this morning for the discussion by Dr. Nnaemeka Obiareri, who's an investment banker, a seasoned public affairs analyst, Let's get your thoughts, Dr. Obiariri, first on, I mean, we're not surprised. I don't think that this comes as a surprise to anyone. But Nigeria has said that we will not be retaliating. Are we even in the position to retaliate, first of all? And what would you say this means for Nigeria?
Olive, it's very funny and laughable when I saw the 24 items that Nigeria banned from the U.S. I'm looking at it here. Things like beef, poultry, pork, fruit juice, alcoholic drinks. Olive, in the first instance, if we are a nation that have clear-cut, intentional policies and programs, we should not be talking about beef. We should not be talking about banning pork from the U.S. because we have the capacity in-house to even be the ones exporting these things to the rest of the world. I was having a discussion with one of the top officials in Chinese embassy, and the guy made me to be aware. But that was the first time I was aware that actually we have more Chinese in some West African countries than we have them in Nigeria. The guy said annually, the Chinese consume about $54 billion worth of pork and pork accessories are the homeland Chinese. And then in West Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, the Chinese in South Africa consume almost about $3 billion worth of pork. Interestingly, they import most of this pork from Brazil and other South American countries. And the guy told me, interestingly, Nigeria is a place where you can rear the pig, a place in southern Nigeria, a part of southern Kaduna, and where you can raise enough species of the pigs that they like and do it the way they do it, that we can actually cover that $3 billion market for South African market if we're a very serious and intentional state country. Talking from a Chinese embassy official. The same thing with beef. We have 19.5 million cows that are only creating death and misery in Nigeria. We are still debating Ruga and non-Ruga. Netherlands, with only 1.6 million cows, though they do about 24 billion euros exports every year from that sector. Beef, 12 billion liters of milk, 800,000 tons of cheese. 19.5 million cows, we don't even know. We even import over $1 billion of dairy value chain. A very serious and intentional country should be thinking. I wrote a proposal to the northern governors, and I showed them clearly how they can, within a space of 2 years, set up 2,500 agro-pastoral centers, just like we have in Netherlands, 1,000 to 2,000 hectares, each of these clusters. In each of these clusters, we have at least 1,100 cows, 1,000 milking cows, 100 bulls. And from these centers, it will take about $15 billion to set it up. Akiwuna National can easily give them that money if they are very intentional. Cooperatives, each center will give us $42 million annually. $109 billion annually within the next 2 years. If they are very sincere, we will be exporting beef. South Africa has very insignificant Muslim population. Every year, South Africa exports 60,000 tons of halal compliant beef to the Middle East, generating over $3 million. All we do every year is we waste scarce resources going from Jerusalem to Rome, to Mecca and Medina on a pilgrimage while we are exporting nothing. You see, the truth is, in a very insincere country where we have leadership that are intentional, that are focused across the 3 tiers and arms of government, poultry, beef, pork, even alcoholic beverages are things we can produce here in Nigeria. 4 items that can give us nothing less than $50 billion in export revenue. I know I've done the numbers sector by sector across the whole value chain. But the problem is, what we just did is just to actually just let it be seen that we are just doing like other nations. By the way, who is even importing pork and beef from the US? And that is the truth. So, Olive, the truth is, here I sit as a citizen of one lumbering giant that has potentials to export nothing less than $300 billion worth of agro value chain products. And again, we do not have governments who are focused, who are intentional, who are even taking any right step to do what is right. And what is even this tariff all about? America deliberately decided to increase tariff on products that they can competitively produce within their country. What can we competitively produce in Nigeria? I was arguing with somebody. I said, look at Netherlands, 1.6 million hectares of land. They have over 1,025,000 tractor population. Nigeria, 64 million arable land mass. We don't even have up to tractor population of 45,000. Most of them are moribund. A sincere country will put zero tariff on import of equipment that can help them to catalyze production here in Nigeria. Things like tractors, bulldozers, processing plants that we cannot manufacture here. A sincere nation, we see how we can bring in people that will grow, that will establish assembly plants here, so that we can bring these things, zero tariff, and then use it to catalyze productivity in Nigeria to enable us export. But Nigeria is one funny place where we put tariff on what we cannot produce and remove tariff on things we can produce here, which is very, very funny. The truth is, if Nigeria decide today to wake up and to do the right things, I was looking at the numbers. A healthy nation, both in mind and physically, is a very productive society. And the problem we have here is that we lack knowledge, we lack education, we have some of, look at what Michael Anambra did between 1960 to 1966. What Ambassador Awolowo did is what China borrowed in 1980 to 2005. Pragmatic socialism, and see where they are today. The current bunch of leaders that we have are clueless, non-intentional. They don't even know left and right of what to do. Programs and policies to put in place to make this country a very productive nation. And it is so sad.
Now, Dr. Obiareri, the government is not just folding its hands. I believe they pride themselves in the economic team and the president's team of experts that is put together and advisors. The government, the Minister of Finance, for example, Mr. Moghalu, mentioned ramping up oil production and boosting non-oil revenues. Do you think that's a viable and timely strategy given the current global market dynamics that we currently are witnessing?
My brother, you know, the funny thing about this country, to talk about ramping up oil production, we have the biggest single train refinery in the whole of Africa, in fact, in the whole world. Yet, that single train refinery is importing crude oil to refine here in Nigeria while we are exporting crude oil. Does it make sense to you for a country that understands what it is doing? And we all know that refinery is a way of adding value to the crude oil. When you break down a barrel of crude oil, you get byproducts like the gasoline, the gas oil, the paraffin, the jet A fuel, even the base oil that is used to do lubricants, and other byproducts that are even used in the synthetic industry. But here in Nigeria, here is one country with 37.5 billion barrels of proven crude oil under its soil, with probable capacity to do about 100 billion barrels. Yet we are unable to produce 1.5 million barrels a day. At a time in this country, in 2010, we were doing 2.8 million barrels crude and condensate. Does it make sense? 15 years after, we've tanked by almost 60%. Brazil, 15.5 million barrels reserve. They do 2.3 million barrels every day. Petrobras is owned 78% by the private sector, 28% by the Brazilian government. Petrobras every year does $121 billion turnover, 36.7 billion profit. Last year, they paid $44.8 billion as taxes to the Brazilian government, plus $6 billion dividend. What did NNPC bring to the table to the federal government? Nothing. Because we run a criminal and opaque oil and gas system. We keep on deceiving ourselves. If the Minister for Finance is very sincere, what they will do is look at the template of the Brazilians. I see them deceiving themselves.
Now, Dr. Obiareri, if I may come in here, please. Sorry for interrupting you. We've seen a recent personnel change in NNPC, almost revamping of the top hierarchy in the executive. The manager has gone and there's a new management team there. Are you hopeful that, looking at the credential of these individuals, that might bring about some hope for NNPC?
My brother, the only hope that will be right for us. In fact, let me tell you, I'm not hopeful. I'm going to tell you why I said I'm not hopeful. You forgot that this same NNPC, there was a time we had a crack professional known as Kachukwu Ibe as the GMD. Of course, Kachukwu started some massive reforms. Within a space of 1 year, he was removed. And a Mike Antibado was replaced with him And from that time till now, NNPC had gone downward trend. And let me tell you, while I have great respect for the technical expertise and the excellence of the new team, the truth is that place cannot work efficiently until we overhaul the institutional, carry out massive institutional reforms there. No matter how good, if you bring a Lionel Messi and put him in a bumbling club, Lionel Messi will not do well. The truth is, for NNPC to live up to its potentials, we must do three critical things. The federal government must be very sincere to divest at least 60-70% of their shareholding in that NNPC Limited, 30% to three core investors, 10%, and 40% to Nigerians, and then list it on the floor of the exchange and do additional IPO of $20 billion. Let me tell you what will happen. When you inject the private sector efficiency in that place, like we have in Petrobras, and remove the public sector layered corruption and Ponzi games there, mark my word, in the next 1 year, NNPC will start giving you a report of 2.3, 2.5 million barrels a day. NNPC will report turnover of nothing less than $120 billion. NNPC will pay tax and royalties of not less than $14 billion to the federal government, while giving us dividend of nothing less than $6 billion, just like Petrobras. The truth is, I respect the excellent team that have been assembled, but the structural deformities, the foundational rots in the institution, we never allow them to perform. If we want them to perform, we are not inventing the wheel. If Aramco, as big as they are, could introduce efficiency, and you can see it in their balance sheet. If the British Petroleum can introduce efficiency like that, if Enoch Oil, Emirate Oil, and Petrobras can do the same thing, what is stopping us from doing the same line? They know the truth. This truth I am saying here on live TV, they know this to be the truth. The day we decide to carry out institutional unbundling at that place and do it the right way like Petrobras, this country will begin to see a new lease of life.
Okay. Let me also ask, there have been calls from politicians, not forgetting to even from past members of the body, talking about the NNPC and so on, that the president should actually step down as the minister, because this hasn't helped the president to oversee the entire process of what's happening. And I mean, he's already focused on ensuring that he needs to, focus on the things that are affecting the nation. What's your take on that? Let's hear your take on that. Do you think he should actually, step down from that role? Let's change the narrative a bit and not continue what has been done from past presidents, which hasn't yielded any profitable fruit, so to say.
To be very honest, Mr. President sitting as the Minister for Petroleum Resources, it's okay, because that is the golden goose he wants to oversee directly. And of course, you remember he's an oil man. He was former treasury at Mobil. Good and fine. I'm not against it. But what I am saying, and which is the truth, for us to derive maximum benefits from our crude oil and gas resources in Nigeria, we must do the right things. And that right thing that we must do is to unbundle the NNPC, just like Petrobras. Let me tell you, Nigerians are not more corrupt than the Brazilians. The Brazilians understood clearly that to allow Petrobras to be under control of the public sector will keep on breeding corruption. So they decided to do the right thing. Unbundle it, inject private sector efficiency, sit back and oversee, which is the best thing to do. Look at the Nigerian liquefied natural gas. Why do you think the NLNG is one of the public-owned corporations that is working so efficiently? NLNG is owned 51% by private sector people, Total, Chevron, and the rest of them, and 49% by NNPC on behalf of Nigeria. NLNG is shielded from the shenanigans of those in National Rock and those in National Assembly. Their recruitment process, their operational process is very efficient. The NLNG is even not performing now. They are even producing below capacity because the NNPC inefficiency. NNPC have not been able to give them the gas supply that they need to be able to run their trains to 99-100% capacity. And that is the shameful thing here. So if you want us to derive value from our whole oil and gas value chain, bros, we must do the right thing. We must unbundle the NNPC, sell down the federal government shareholding inside it to 70% to private sector investors, do IPO of 20 billion. And let me tell you what will happen. it will inject over 60 billion into our federation account. It will stabilize prices, stabilize foreign exchange, and in the next 2-3 years, you will begin to wonder yourself, what has happened over the last 25 years? Nowhere used to be in our position. Nowhere had this oil disease. They have oil, until they decided to isolate governance from the oil and privatize and allow the oil to stay one corner and began to diversify their economy. Today, oil contributes to about less than 10% to Norwegian GDP. Today, Norway has about $1.3 trillion in sovereign wealth fund.
Okay.
Nigeria can do the same. But the truth is, those who purport to lead and govern us lack the sincerity, lack the political will, lack the compassion, lack the honesty that we found in people like Michael Okpara and Abafemi Awolowo. The
CBN, the report has it that CBN has sold dollars to the tune of almost $200 million to sort of stabilize the economy since these tariffs have been announced. Do you think that this is a step in the right direction? You've talked about people about our leading class not having the political will, compassion, empathy. Do you think that the CBN is taking a step in the right direction to ensure that they help mitigate the harshness this might cause?
The truth is that what the CBN is doing is what it's supposed to do. The job of the CBN is to ensure monetary and price stability in the economy. But I also feel sorry for the CBN because the CBN is not the dollar liquidity that it requires to do this job efficiently. It was easy for Charles Oludo. It was easy for Sanusi Labilo Sanusi to be able to ensure price and forex stability because they had huge flow of dollar revenue coming in. As at the time they were CBN governors, NNPC was remitting an average of about $3.5 billion into federation account. Today it is less than $600 million. And that is the problem we are facing. The truth is, Nigeria has no business where we are today. It is all about dollar liquidity. If we have a diversified economy, where the non-oil sector is bringing in nothing less than $250–300 billion, we will not bother ourselves with CBN intervening. The CBN will be so awash with dollar liquidity. In fact, there will be so much dollar liquidity supply into Nigeria that we won't even bother ourselves with anybody intervening. But the CBN is intervening. It's like you sent a man to clear a 30-year forest that have not been cleared before. You did not give him a D8 bulldozer. You're giving him a machete to go and use to cut that evil forest. That is what Cardoso is doing. And they are trying their best. The major problem with Nigeria is 95% on the physical sector. The governors are not pulling their weight. I sit down here, Olive, and I tell you the truth. If I am a governor, for example, look at Edo State. Edo State has 1.98 million hectares of arable land mass. One of the best arable land mass. Look at what Okomu and Presco is doing. I am sure the governor, with proper advice, with proper consultancy, with proper team in place, can create over $20–30 billion from the agri sector from his states. Of course, while tackling insecurity with the issues of herdsmen menace in that state, there is no state in Nigeria that cannot generate $30–20 billion of their own outside the FAC and JAC allocation from Abuja. But the problem is, most of these governors and local government chairmen are lazy, unproductive, unpatriotic, unthinking, non-compassionate, and they don't even have the fear of God or fear of man.
Well, Dr. Obiariri, thank you for your thoughts with us this morning. It's not very exciting to see where we are and what it's looking like, but we're certainly hoping for the best for our country. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Olive.
Thank you.
Well, very intense conversation there, but
very passionate.
Very passionate, of course. Talking about the political will to make decisions that are best for Nigeria. At the end of the day, the economy of the Nigerian people should be prioritized. The living conditions of the Nigerian people, we haven't seen the impact of what this tariff will do, what the possibility of inflation. I mean, it's already a tough time for Nigerians. What we do not want is a tougher time.
And I'm sure Joe will agree that, I mean, since we were kids, it's always the potential. When would we see this sleeping giant wake up to actualize this potential? We're tired of, we have this and that. Let's fill it. Let's leave it.
You said it all. It's always like every time a new person tries to take charge as president, they always speak well of the potential and what they're trying to do, especially with the manifesto. And when we saw, like, yes, exactly like the renewed hope one that we also are in, So if you look at it clearly, you would be expecting that these changes would have been done. Dr. Nameka has broken it down in terms of numbers and figures.
Right.
This is exactly why we need to move away from over-dependency on oil and gas. Nigeria has a lot. I remember way back when we were growing up, very little, we heard stories of, the granite, pyramid. Nigeria is blessed with, of course, cocoa. You do have all of that. Sadly, these departments, which I would like to call them in quotes, are not being created for young Nigerians to manage.
Right.
Imagine this, if everyone who's in tech today, if Benga is not, I know once in a while we think of going into tech. Yes. I don't know if you're thinking about that. Maybe Olive is thinking about that. But imagine going into cocoa. It becomes a thing. It's a fad. It's a tradition. Yeah. It's pride. Everybody, I own this cocoa thing. I'm business partner. Benga, Olive launched their cocoa, farm. Make it interesting.
And then we can maybe now start having a country that is not over-reliant on oil, because we have truly diversified our economy. Yeah. Beyond the conversations we're having here, there's an impact on not just the everyday Nigerian, but even those who unfortunately have to live in IDP camps. There is a community that has been, it's an IDP settlement. They've lost their home, unfortunately, due to a ravaging fire. And we have our correspondent, Mark Yawa, who's there right now to bring us updates. Good morning, Mark Yawa. Where are you? Give us an update about how we got to this unfortunate incident of the fire ravaging this IDP settlement.
Yes, good morning. Right now at the Danori IDP settlement. It's an informal settlement. The community members usually stay in their community in Danori. A community that was displaced for over 10 years, and they had to leave their homes, their farmlands, and so on and so forth, schools, everything. They had no any other option than to come to a nearby location, 6 to 7 kilometers drive away from Maiduguri, near the roadside, and they have formed this temporary shelter. As you can see, if you can see beside me, these are temporary shelters. But unfortunately, in the last 5 days of Sunday, fire butchered and then destroyed virtually everything. Women are struggling to get the last meal that they can get from out of the fire, and then water points destroyed, and so many other things destroyed. And people of the community now are struggling, counting on their losses, hoping that the government will come and support them. But I have one of the community members who will tell us more with regard to the experience so far. So, Brosalaki Namora Shumundugo. Alhaji Bukarwalari. Okay, Kata Alhaji Bukarwalari. I am going to do the when children are and the children, the brother, whatever, the house, what I do. Our man, but I'm very now. Now, the water, you know, the brown grounds, medicine, and grounds, and you that's a prize. So, what's the matter? Then, around the year, so they look at you and do has a and being friendly each other and the almost more I also America, one of the same level, what to let through which are combined off. The idea of the city function that's available when we go to the idea, so when we can do that, and that's the which is a better shot. All right. If you can understand what he just said, he said they have no place to go because they have been displaced from their communities, and here they are taking temporary shelter, and they have no other option but to beg on the government to come to their aid, to respond to their needs, because they have so many children, so many unfortunate retrogressive experience of the people. Their means of livelihood has been destroyed, water points destroyed, burned down to ashes, and so on and so forth. And in addition to this, I also have one of the leader of the community who will tell us more with regard to
Okay, Omar Kirawa, we seem to have a little network connectivity issues there, but we do get it. I was going to ask him where in particular is that IDP camp located
and
in?
to also find out what may have caused the fire.
Yeah,
And the government response also.
absolutely. Because
So far, I don't think there's been anyone
He
responsible.
said
They are calling on.
it's about 7 kilometers from the capital, Maiduguri. It's off the roadside. Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, it would be very good to have the location in particular. We never could tell if the government is also paying attention. I mean, they always watch News Central's Breakfast Central, so we're certain that this would have given them clarity on, okay, this is where...
And you'd expect a
so
response, a robust response. This happened on Sunday. Today is Wednesday. It's been more than 48 hours. What's really going on? But we didn't... Hopefully, we'll be able to reconnect with Umaru in Maiduguri.
Absolutely. It's very key because, I mean, everyone in the IDP camp there, it pretty much seems like it has become the normal way of living for these people.
You know, my heart really just breaks to think about whilst we're here complaining about band A, band B, these people, exactly. We have the privilege to be able to complain about our data finishing and us paying exorbitant fees for electricity. These people in the IDP camps, the life that they live, they're literally just waiting for their next meal, where the next meal will come from. I remember, I think when we were at the other studio, or in VI, where we had someone from Cameroon. She was doing a project in Nigeria with the IDP camps as well as with Cameroon. Remember the lady who came to talk about even periods. Young girls in IDP camps are unable to hygienically see their periods, so they make use of grass as sanitary towels. Imagine a human being's life being subjected to that level of, it feels like they're being stripped of what makes them human. They're stripped, stripped of their dignity. There's a dignity, even the Constitution guarantees the right to the dignity of human person. And unfortunately, living in the IDP camp has stripped them of that.
I mean, it's bad enough that they're in the IDP camp.
Now they have nowhere to go.
Exactly. They've been through a lot. You can imagine the horrors they've seen, and then you have this fire incident. I expect a robust response from those in charge, and hopefully they'll do something about the situation of those IDPs.
It's a very tight one. It's a very tight situation that they find themselves. I mean, it bothers one to think that it's been years of insurgency. People have been displaced. They've left their homes, what they used to call home. They found another place where they found, love amongst themselves and tried to settle. And then again, you have another crisis. And just yesterday, the governor of Borno State, Babagana Zulum, has been screaming. He's been crying out very loud. Last 2 weeks, he had called on Mr. President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to do something. He said it seems like the assailants are gaining ground.
We've seen an uptick in attacks, especially this year.
Yes. If you can also recall that the governor, who actually has won, some awards for being the governor, one of the most hard-working governors in Nigeria, he's been able to do a whole lot in the space of almost 4 years, counting since he got into office. But if you look at the dynamics of insecurity, it's a problem. There was a time where the same governor was traveling. That video about was it last year or so? He was traveling, and then they had to stop on the road because these assailants, came out from the bush. They were shooting, and there were a lot of violence was ongoing just far off from where he was. So they had to stop, and then he made a statement and said, "Listen, they need help." 2 weeks ago, he also said the same thing. This week, I think over the weekend, he made the same statement that, listen, these assailants are gaining ground. They are actually starting to take over the communities, not just one, but many of them. My worry is, how many people are you going to move far away from their homes and keep creating IDP camps? It seems like the more IDP camps you create,
you're almost normalizing it.
Exactly. Sadly, it's normal now because everyone just feels like, okay, let's just go into the IDP camps. And before you know, these residents are now going to find a way to trickle into other states just because they cannot find a livelihood or happiness from where they were living. So let's move to other states, like maybe closer states, either in the same north, or maybe come down to the southwest, and so on and so forth. So what we're seeing here, what I'm just saying is, I think we must applaud Nigeria's security architecture and the chiefs. I think they're putting up a lot of efforts to see what they can do. But I think it begs for a state of emergency. If you can't wake up and smell the coffee, I think the time
exactly.
is now.
Let's put an end to all
It's
of
now.
this. Yes,
it's either now
because you can't manage
or
it.
never.
Yeah,
it's either now or never. It's too much. The southwest. Ondo State is already shouting that, listen,
it's going to the coastal states.
If you go to the Nigerian map, I think we have to do a drawing board on this. If you go to the Nigerian map and plot to see where it's coming from, you start to see that there's a spread. It's starting to spread. And the earlier you nip it in the bud,
this started in the northeast. It moved to the northwest, and now we're seeing attacks in the southern part of Nigeria. Like you said, so a state of emergency is needed. I mean, you can have a state of emergency without removing the governor, because when you say state of emergency,
everybody just thinks they're going to have to sacrifice their position. All right, let's take you through a recap of the conversations we've had this morning, and then keep you updated on what to expect within the next hour. Remember, we're running up until 10 a.m. this morning. So now, a quick recap. This morning on Breakfast Central, we, of course, looked at the insecurity in northern Nigeria with fresh concerns mounting, and we had a guest join us to talk about where we are and what the next steps are. Nigeria's response to Trump's 14% tariffs is a conversation we're having. Governor Zulum warns of foreign terrorist infiltration, calls for action. And that's the recap of the conversation. Let's share with you what's coming up next.
Coming up on Breakfast Central this morning, Anambra governorship poll, Labour Party's chances and crisis. We'll be speaking to the candidate of the Labour Party for the gubernatorial elections. Acquitted suspect alleged coercion to implicate Fubara's chief of staff. Stay with us. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
Today we dive into the political pulse of Anambra State as the governorship election draws closer. With election scheduled for the 8th of November, the political landscape is heating up following the conduct of party primaries over the weekend and various flag bearers of parties decided.
Anambra is no stranger to political intrigue. The ruling All Progressives Grand Alliance, ABGA, has held sway for years, with Governor Chukwuma Soludo seeking re-election. Meanwhile, the Labour Party, riding on the momentum of its influence in the 2023 elections, is looking to make inroads. But can they translate that into a governorship victory? But joining us for the first major chat since winning the primaries of the party, Labour Party, is Dr. George Moghalu, governorship candidate of Labour Party in Anambra State ahead of the November governorship elections. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Breakfast Central.
Thank you so very much for having me.
Great. Just like we spotted, we could see the smiles on your face. I mean, congratulations, by the way. Can you tell us what it felt like having been selected or having won that primary?
Just like any other situation where something good happens to you, I felt very happy. At the same time also, I appreciate the enormity of the challenge before me. Because one thing is to win the primary, one thing is to lead the party to election and succeed. So I appreciate sincerely the enormity of the challenge before me. They're realizing fully that it's a lot of confidence that the people have placed in you and believing that you will lead them through. So for me, generally speaking, I feel very happy. At the same time also, I feel challenged, but I have to do the best I can to justify the confidence of the people in me.
Now, Dr. Moghalu, your acceptance speech, you emphasized the importance of unity within the party. How do you plan to bring all stakeholders together to ensure that the Labour Party is united as you move towards the gubernatorial elections, looking at the current crisis rocking the party?
If you listen to my acceptance speech after the primary, and even the speech I made yesterday when I collected the certificate of return, I made it very clear that I didn't win, nobody else won, rather than Labour. The Labour Party won. And I set it for myself as an agenda to pursue very aggressively general reconciliation. Some people may feel bad Some people may feel disappointed, as expected. Like I did say a few times back, that Labour Party, like every other human organization, has its own internal challenges, because ambitions will clash, expectations will clash. Certainly there will be areas of basic friction. So for me, it is an assignment, it's a responsibility set before me to move ahead, to do whatever that is humanly possible, beg people, talk with people, so that at the end of the day you can achieve comprehensive reconciliation, that everybody will now be part of the agenda and see the project as our project, not my project. So for me, I appreciate that assignment that is thrust upon me by virtue of the fact that I am the flag bearer, that I'm the beneficiary of an electoral process during the primary that threw me up. So I have that as a responsibility. I'm going to do everything I can, humanly possible, to reach out, to talk with people. Where there is need to apologize, you apologize. Where there is need to beg, you beg. Where there is need to convince, you try as much as possible to convince. For me, it's important that we bring total reconciliation to the party.
All right. I mean, you have, of course, done that and signified your intention to unite the party. You reached out to your, who should have been your rival, John Owosu, as well. Like you said, there are no victors, no vanquished. It is Labour Party that has won, and you're looking forward to pushing forward. But also in your acceptance speech, you did thank your national party leader, His Excellency Peter Obi, as well as Governor Alex Oti. And, you know, talking about you being indebted to the people who voted you in and gave their support. What are your thoughts? I mean, you did say a few minutes ago as well that you are ready to apologize to whoever needs apologies and, you know, just whatever you need to do to bring the party together. The party is currently facing some difficulty at the national level, especially with the court's judgment. Julius Abure and his team still believe firmly that they are in the leadership of the Labour Party. What are your thoughts about that? And do you plan to reach out to Julius Abure as well?
Yes, like I did say, reconciliation must be comprehensive. Any effort you are going to make has to also be all-encompassing so that everybody can be involved. The truth about it is that where there is a disagreement, somebody has to show leadership. Somebody has to lead. If it is begging, like I did say, for me, there is no big deal about it. There is nothing too big to do. There is no sacrifice too much to make sure that we are together as a people, we are together as a team, so that we can go ahead. We have leaders, established leaders, like our national leader, you mentioned Peter Obi, like our leader, Alex Oti, like leaders at various levels. Leaders in the National Assembly, leaders in the State Assembly, even leaders in the party administrative structure. So it is important that we all come together. The truth about it here is that it is about Labour. It's about Labour Party. So every effort we are going to make should be aimed at bringing everybody together, because every effort is needed for us to be able to bring to bear to the benefit of the Anambrarians the narrative we want to preach. Like I said in my acceptance speech and even in when I picked also my certificate of return, I thanked the delegates because what they have done is to place their confidence in me. They believe that I will be able to lead them. They believe that I will be able to do that which I have said I will do. So they have placed their trust in me. So it is for me now to work hard to justify that confidence. And I have set out to do it, and by the grace of God who has made all these things possible, I will do it.
Okay. Well, there are indeed rising fears that the state, predominantly as it has been in the past, is a stronghold of APGA. And the current governor, who would also be vying for that same position in a few months' time, says that there's no space for either LP, Labour Party, or APC, and so on. How does this make you feel? And do you think that it will be a time where APGA would be able to at least take the back seat? Is there a possibility? And do you have fears as well?
No, there's no fear at all. That APGA had been there, yes, quite all right, APGA had been there. But don't forget also that the APGA that is there today was the same APGA that Peter Obi used to become governor. So APGA has been there, no doubt about it. We see them, they are the incumbent, you can't remove that fact. But we are going to present ourselves to the Anambrarians to decide, because the final decision will be made by the people of Anambra State. We are going to present our program, we are going to present our own, we're going to sell our own narrative, and they will be in a position to do a comparative analysis, to ask ourselves, where we are today, is it where we should be? These are basic questions we'll ask, and then we provide answers. The truth about it is that, yes, it is a big assignment to remove an incumbent, but it is doable, it has been done before, and it will be done again.
Just to follow up on what you just said, the big assignment to remove an incumbent, Dr. Moghalu. The incumbent has experience in public service. He was a former CBN governor. You also have a vast experience in public service. You were the MD of the Nigerian Inland Waterways Authority. What specific aspects of your public experience and politics do you believe gives you an edge in the upcoming elections?
You see, if you look at my trajectory from where I started up to where I am today, you will find out that I have played one role or the other both in the private and public sectors. I've also played politics at the lowest and the highest levels of governance. So I'm quite experienced in all facets. I'm quite experienced in all sectors, both in the private sector, in the public sector, in politics. So I'm going to bring all of them to bear, because when the office of the governor has every component you're talking about, he has the component of private sector experience, he has the component of public sector experience, he has also the component of politics. So I am coming there fully prepared, experientially.
All right. You're seen as a political heavyweight in Anambra, but some would argue that your crossing over from the APC to the Labour Party was because you saw the Labour Party more as a vehicle to achieve your goal. Talk to us about your reasons for crossing. Was it because the APC could no longer serve that purpose? And how do you plan to align your ideology? How has your ideology aligned with the Labour Party coming from the APC?
Thank you for acknowledging that I'm a heavyweight in the politics of my state and in the nation. I appreciate that. But the truth about it here is that, like I tried to explain in a few instances, there are two issues. In any political contestation, there are two critical issues. One is the person. Two is the platform. For the person, it is about me to make the decision. I can decide not to consult anybody. I can decide to consult only my family. The decision is just about me to make. But when you go to the second stage, which is now the platform, you have to get the involvement of your political associates, your friends, your family, even those who don't even agree with you politically. So before I took that decision, I got these sets of persons involved. We consulted widely. If you recall, I formally joined Labour Party on October 1, 2024. But I started consulting by the late 2023. And I had to consult all these facets of people for us to agree, for me to be advised, for me to be directed on how to go about it. Politics is about persons, it's about people. We're talking about Anambra State as a state, we're talking about the people of Anambra State. We're not talking about fixtures, we're talking about persons. So after this wide consultation, my committee, my nucleus committee met and then said, Madike, that's my traditional title, by the way, Madike, that we have reached a point where we must take a political decision. And after wide consultation, that the point where we are today, we have to go with Labour. That Labour will provide us a better opportunity, a better platform for us to market our agenda, for us to reach to the people, for us to be able to realize our ambition to change the narrative of politics in our state. And me, being somebody who works with a team, I agree with them because they presented sufficient argument to convince me. And after having presented that, I had no choice than for us to move to Labour.
Okay. There seems to be a little twist here, which I'd like for us to get your take on it. And that twist has got to do with the fact that
a former Labour Party supporter, one who had given it his all, one who was there in 2023 and championed the cause for either the local government, the state, and of course the presidency. I'm talking about Mr. Valentine Ozigbo. He decided to make a switch to the other side, while you made a switch to where he actually left from. Now, being on both divides, he lost out. You eventually clinched that particular ticket. What do you have to say about that sudden switch? And do you some way or somehow feel sad that a former member of your party, your current party, didn't remain with the party because he would have also enjoyed the dividends that you have gotten today?
No, you see, this is about personal choices. Val, you mentioned, is my friend. So his decision to leave Labour for APC was just about his decision. I have no role to play in it, but I would have wished he remained. That is the truth. I would have wished he remained. But the decision to go to APC was his to make. And I wish him well.
Now, Dr. Moghalu, looking at the current realities in Anambra today, what specific pillars would your campaign be based on? What do you think are the priority issues and policy initiatives you'll be championing?
You see, I have said it time and time again that the biggest challenge we face as a state is the fact that the people of Anambra State have lost confidence in their government.
Where did you get
Therefore, my basic agenda is to
from, sir, that they've lost confidence in the current governor?
I am from Anambra State. I live in Anambra State. There I live also in Abuja. And I relate with people. We are talking about a politician who is looking for office. So I must engage people, I must relate with people, I must discuss with people if we are talking about the people of the state. So for me, the major principal agenda is to restore the confidence of the people in their government. Because the moment you do that, things become a lot easier for you to manage. Because they will be in a position to talk to you, they'll be in a position to relate to you, they'll be in a position to address you and let you know what is actually happening in the state for you to be able to address it. So for me, that is a principal responsibility. You know, I tried to create an analogy the last time I spoke to the media. In a room that is pitch dark, candlelight is light. It brings a level of illumination. If you bring a 40-watt bulb, it also light. It brings a level of illumination. If you bring a floodlight like the ones you have in the studio, it brings a level of illumination. So the question now is, what level of illumination are you looking for? And that's exactly what governance is all about. If I sit here and tell you that the government of the day has not done anything, then that must be unfair. I'm not being fair. But the truth about it is that a lot can be done better.
And what level of illumination are you proposing?
I'm proposing very bright illumination like the one you have in your studio.
Thank you for the compliment.
That is the message I'm bringing.
All right. Dr. Moghalu, can you please talk to us about, since the moment you were announced as the winner of the primaries, correct me if I'm wrong, but it does seem like we haven't gotten an official statement yet congratulating you from His Excellency Peter Obi. Do you have the support of His Excellency Peter Obi?
Yes, I have spoken with His Excellency Peter Obi and he congratulated me.
All right, personally? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we just wanted to clarify that. Now, as we count down to the elections happening in a few months, when it comes to politics and elections, Nigerians often say that politicians all sing the same song and the same rhetorics. What do you have to offer people of Anambra State that is completely different from what they've heard before over and over again?
You see, like I have said, I am not just the normal type of politician, because I like you to go through my trajectory from when I started full politics and the public offices and private offices that I've held. that will enable you understand me more, so that you can find out who I am properly. Because if I say something, I keep to it. I honor my word. I try to be a statesman. I try to manifest integrity anytime I have the opportunity to do so. So I'm not just like the ordinary politician, like you described, the one who will say something and don't mean it, who will say something for the purposes of attracting votes. I will tell you the truth as it is. If it hurts you, I will apologize. The truth about it is that if you look at our state, there are areas where I think that if I have the opportunity, by the grace of God, to be governor, I will do things a lot different. The issue of insecurity, I will do it differently. The issue of agriculture, there's quite a lot that can be done in that sector. In the health sector, there's quite a lot that can be done. In basic infrastructural development, there's quite a lot that can be done. And the issue of the welfare of the people, empowerment of our wives, our daughters, our sisters, and our children, for them to play active role, it's important, and I'm going to address it differently. So there's quite a lot I have in mind to do, relating it also with the Labour Manifesto. You see, there's a lot that can be done. If you look at, there was a program that our leader, Peter Obi, had when he was governor of Anambra State, and that program was quite impactful. Very, very impactful. And there is no reason why we cannot expand that. There's no reason why we cannot invest more in it and use it effectively for the benefit of our people. There's quite a lot that needs to be done and can be done properly. If you look at our security situation, most news you hear from Anambra State are in the negative. It is either one person has been kidnapped, it's either one person has been killed, or what have you. A lot can be done, both using the kinetic and non-kinetic ways of doing things. Investing in information gathering, investing in intelligence, in providing the needed infrastructure. There's quite a lot that can be done. You can change the narrative as it concerns our local vigilante. You can develop it. You can build a vigilante that you've properly documented, properly trained, properly set, properly funded, and at the same time also provide them the needed equipment for them to be able to do the work and do it properly. So there's quite a lot that can be done.
All right, I'd like to just touch on that situation of insecurity. I know that you wouldn't, play the role like Mr. President did when he was asked before the elections if he could share some of his methods, and he said no, he wouldn't want to talk about it, so that the other...
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
All right, I said I know you wouldn't want to keep your ideas on how you can solve insecurity in Anambra State, and of course, if you put it there, the Southeast, like Mr. President, who didn't want to talk about his ideologies when he was asked before the elections. So do you want to share what you think can be done to help Anambrians, if we put it that way, at least have some form of respite? That's one. Secondly, do you also think that the native doctors that have been, chased out of the state, which many have said, yes, there's a wise, which has kind of like reduced insecurity. Do you think it was a smart move?
I didn't hear you. Please, can you come again?
Okay. Let me repeat myself. I said, do you think the governor chasing the Ezenwines, okay, the native doctors from the state, and ensuring that they are arrested, which many have said has curbed insecurity in the state, do you think it was a smart move? And would you love to share some of your ideologies on how insecurity can be curbed in the state?
Oh, well, like you rightly said, I'm going to formally launch my manifesto. I'm going to formally address those issues. If I start talking about them now, I've shot myself in the leg. That is one. Then when you talk about the issue of S and Y, for me, credible information is critical. It is not about sacking people or throwing them away. Let us do proper investigation. Let us have sufficient intelligence before we can address the issue. Let me tell you, we are Christians. There are people who practice traditional religion. And there is no crime for practicing traditional religion. There are also some people who don't even go to church at all. Atheists, they exist in the state, and they exist because they are also Anambrians. But if there are people who have been identified after thorough investigation as perpetrating acts that are not in the interest of the people, the state, I have no problem with chasing them out. I have no problem with getting them arrested. I have no problem with taking them to court and following due process. You must follow due process so that you can prove their case, your case. You must prove the allegation because he who alleges has to prove. Once you have enough evidence that are provable in court, anything you want to do with them in line with the law, I will not be opposed to it.
Okay, well, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. We want to go on a very short break. When we come back, we have a few more conversations or a few more questions to ask you before we wrap up the conversation this morning. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at the Labour Party, the challenges within the party, Anambra State as a whole, and the countdown to the gubernatorial elections in Anambra State. We're joined this morning by Dr. George Moghalu, the Labour Party gubernatorial candidate. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, an organization called Alaibo Development Foundation, they've called for reparations from the Nigerian government ever since the book talking about President Ibrahim Babangida, talking about 1966 not being an Igbo coup. They've asked for reparations because they believe that the Igbo people have faced a lot of humiliation and marginalization because a certain narrative had been passed over the years. They've also called for the immediate release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Do you share same sentiments with them, and what are your thoughts on how Nigeria has handled the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu?
Yeah, like you rightly observed, I am very happy that General Babangida wrote that book. Let me use this opportunity also to appeal to other leaders at various levels to try as much as possible to document their experiences, because it will help. Apart from enhancing education, it will also provide an opportunity to correct some narratives that has not helped in strengthening our unity as a country. So I commend General Babangida for that book and for the expose. Then when you talk about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, my position has always been consistent. And that is joining hands with other Nigerians to plead that Nnamdi Kanu should be released. It has always been my position, and I will remain on that position. I will consistently beg, ask, plead that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu be released to join his family and his people. He has a lot to contribute to the development and national reconciliation. He has quite a lot to contribute. So getting him out, I endorse it, and I'll be excited if it happens as quickly as possible.
All right.
Now, Dr. Moghalu, looking at the upcoming gubernatorial elections in Anambra State, following the conduct of INEC in the last general elections, not so many Nigerians were not pleased with their conduct. They said they're not truly independent, and they promised and under-delivered. It's been 2 years since the last elections. It will be 2 years next month, in a few weeks' time. Do you think, or do you have confidence in INEC as the electoral umpire to conduct free and fair elections in Anambra State? And do you see any improvement in their conduct since the last elections?
Yes, I have every confidence in INEC. I have every confidence in INEC because I have no reason now, I have no basis not to have confidence in them. But for me, like I always plead with them, for every election, let it be an opportunity to improve till we get to our desired destination. My prayer is that they should please see Anambra State election as another opportunity for them to correct any negative impression people may have about them. But for me, as it is today, I have every confidence that they will deliver.
All right.
And I pray they deliver.
Okay, you certainly have confidence in INEC. Like you mentioned when you were answering one of our questions, it's a collective effort. It's the individual, it's the political party, it's the voters, and it's also INEC. But let's talk about, once again, the political party, your political party, the Labour Party that is marred with a lot of challenges, especially at the national level. How would you suggest that the current leadership situation plaguing the Labour Party be resolved? Julius Abure standing his ground as the chairman of the party, and the multiple interpretations we're seeing of the court judgment.
For me, like I've always said, Labour Party, like every other human organization, has its own internal challenges. And for every challenge like that to be, listen, there is no crisis or conflict that has ever been resolved on the war front. It's always resolved on the table at the negotiating point. So for me, this one wouldn't be different. Everybody is a brother, it's a family matter. Everybody will meet at a point, discussions will be held, consultations will be held, and there will be full reconciliation. Everybody is important.
All right, final question would be, what is your take on the calls for the release of Nnamdi Kanu?
I have answered the question. I said my appeal.
I'm asking again. I want to get somewhere. So what's your take?
My appeal, my position is, please let Nnamdi Kanu be released. If it has to be through political solution, to God be the glory. If it is legal, to God be the glory. My position is whatever that can be done to get Nnamdi Kanu out, so that he can contribute to nation building, so that he can contribute to general reconciliation. I'm totally in for it.
Okay, since you're totally in for it, do you think it is something that should be presented as a whole by all the governors of the Southeast, being taken it to the president and making it a very strong mandate? Or do you think it should be done by some, while others are indeed quiet about it?
No, it's not bad. Nnamdi Kanu is from Abia State, from the Southeast. So there's nothing wrong with the governors of the Southeast coming together to go and ask that Nnamdi Kanu be released. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Right, Dr. George Moghalu.
I've also heard or read through in the papers some of the governors speaking in the same direction, asking for his release. So they're coming together to go and present a common front. I think it will also help. There's nothing wrong with that.
The next few weeks and months, we will wait to see how things unfold. Dr. George Moghalu, you've won the hearts of the Labour Party party members. Can you win the hearts of Anambra people? We'll find out in the next few weeks. But I think on a final note, what will your charge or your word to the Anambra people be as we wrap up the conversation?
All right, let me say what I said before. I thank the Anambra State people, particularly those of Labour Party, for placing their trust in me, for giving me this opportunity. I reaffirm my commitment that I will justify the confidence, I will not betray confidence, and I will not let them down. I'm coming to change the narrative of both politics and governance.
Dr. George Moghalu, thank you very much. I'm sure that in Anambra are listening to you. And in the rundown towards the age of November, we hope to have more conversations with you by the time you officially declare your manifesto so we can go into the details of it. Thank you for your time with us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much for having me. I appreciate you all.
Thank you. Anyway.
Quite an interesting conversation there. Primaries are happening. We're counting down to the gubernatorial elections in Anambra State happening in November. We just want to urge the Anambra people to be involved in the process. It's one thing to ask for a change, to criticize whatever administration you find yourself in or whatever leader you find. But if you do not play your part by showing up for polls, going to the election, to the polls, encouraging other people to vote, then you don't have a right to come out and overtly criticize the ruling party or the administration, the government in power. You know, sometimes I know that it can be quite discouraging because the past 2 years have been discouraging because Nigerians are complaining about the basics, quality of life, the cost of living, the quality of leadership. But you do not want that to lead you to voter apathy, because when you do not show up to the polls, what you're doing is you're leaving a vacuum that a lacuna, exactly. And you're leaving an avenue for the political leadership or the political elite to manipulate it against you, manipulate it in their favor. So you're handing them the power if you do not go to the polls. So please, go to the polls, run as much as possible, show up and be a part of the gubernatorial elections in Anambra State.
All right. Anyway, away from that story, let's talk about what really is happening concerning Nigeria's educational system. This time, after weeks of what seemed to be a tough appraisal of applicants, especially seeking to teach in Abia State's public schools, well, something really happened. Well, the state government says it will begin to look in the way of those who have special skills and knowledge in technical and science education, irrespective of their professional qualifications. Well, the Commissioner for Information and his basic education counterpart, Oke Kanu and Goodluck Ubochi, actually told journalists in Umuahia that the government has been unable to get the required number of teachers in the technical and science subjects in its recruitment process. So they don't have enough. So this time they're going to look at those who have the skill set. But then again, we did have our own correspondent, Chinwongele, who actually told us a lot about this story. Let's bring it to you.
It's been a rigorous process of recruiting teachers for the public primary and secondary schools in Abia State. The government had proposed the initial 2,000 vacancies and later increased the opportunities after an outcry by some stakeholders. But it appears that the exercise may not fulfill part of its purpose of filling the dearth of science, technical education, and mathematics teachers.
As a thinking and compassionate government, the State Executive Council has approved the conduct of another round of teachers' recruitment exercise to give those who could not participate in the first phase a chance to participate this time around. Additionally, the outcome of this round of recruitment interview will afford the ministry to have a better bank of very qualified teachers.
Though government is considering the recruitment of people with no qualifications in education, the government says there are plans to put such persons through necessary training to equip them for the job.
Because these are areas that we have been getting so much challenge. People who have maybe basic electricity, modern mathematics, most of them don't have educational qualifications. But you can't allow our schools to keep moving without these teachers.
Some residents of Umuahia, the state capital, will comment the move. They say it will reduce unemployment while ensuring that the learners are not lacking knowledge in science and technical areas.
It's a very nice development. At least it will reduce stealing, idle, all those things. At least you get something doing. Something that gives you income. You know, mathematics is a very important subject. Those sciences and those technical aspects of education. So it's good they go into it because most times you don't get them in NCE or something like that. So, but we have graduates that are good in those subjects, so they can be used.
The people are confident that with their qualifications in their specialized field, they will be able to impart knowledge on the pupils and students.
Since you're educated, you can adapt to any environment, to any academic area. Since you're educated, you can through practice, you can perform.
What we need is imparting into the children the needed academic knowledge.
While the teacher-student ratio has been a source of concern in Abia State, the expectation of stakeholders is that if the government is able to recruit a substantial number of teachers into the public school system, the impact will be positive and far-reaching. In Omahia from News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
This makes me worry because it's starting to show that we do have another emergency in Nigeria's educational system, and we wonder what the government would do to ensure that it enhances the opportunities for the young ones so that they can learn and also, compete with their counterparts, not just in Nigeria, but outside Nigeria, and you could say globally. Binga.
They mentioned in that report that one of the positives of this initiative is to reduce unemployment. But the teaching is a specialist profession. You just don't pick anyone from the street to teach because you're imparting knowledge. You need a certain level of temperament and understanding. So it's not about just understanding the subject matter. I am worried about the use of non-professionals, non-teachers. That's why there's a Bachelor of Education as opposed to a BSc. They are trained to transfer knowledge to the students. So I believe if they throw the recruitment wide open, nationwide, and not just...
You might be seeing some people that you're not supposed to see. Some people they will call it hustle.
Exactly. When you do that, you just see people that are not interested, they want employment and go there, and then you destroy the purpose that you intended for in the beginning. So it will be counterproductive. I believe they should expand to non-indigents of the state, and they might get specialists in that subject rather than just opening it to non-professionals. You have a situation of round eggs and square pegs. Imagine Olive teaching chemistry or physics, for example. I'm happy to make that luminary.
I have been a teacher, actually.
Oh, okay.
You have what?
I was a teacher.
As a core?
Yeah, but as a core member.
No, it wasn't as a core member.
Okay, as well.
What subject did you teach?
I taught all subjects.
Did you flog?
All subjects?
Yes.
Problem.
Did you flog?
No, I didn't.
Did
I? I can't remember.
Okay.
I will not
Wait, you
implicate
taught
myself on
all
that number.
subjects?
Yes,
That's
in
where the
particular,
problem starts.
I taught even fine art. I was a class teacher.
Okay.
And I taught fine arts as well. I
primary
teach them,
school?
yes, and I teach them how to do collage. I'll teach them how to do, it was just a
Olive,
fantastic
you don't need
experience.
to brag. It's primary school. You taught A for apple, B for ball.
No, it was not A for apple, B for ball. I refused. I was teaching primary
Okay, let me
school.
give you your flowers.
Thank you. Thank you very
Olive, you
much.
deserve your flowers.
Thank you very much.
But I always have a pair of teachers who teach all subjects. So.
When you were growing up, did you have
I know.
Did you have any particular teacher? Did you have, this is our math teacher in primary school? Is it not the same teacher that taught you math, English, quantitative, literature?
No. With enough respect, the school I went to.
Which school?
We
Call
don't
the name of
do
the
so.
primary
You
school.
want me to say that?
Say the
It's
name
going
of
to be
the primary.
advertised. I don't want to advertise.
Joe, call
But
the
the
name of
school
the
I
primary
went to,
school.
I'm proud to say that we had teacher for each subject, especially from primary school. From primary 1, we had teachers for each subject.
Joe, call the name of the primary school now.
I don't want to say it. So
I want
doesn't
to
seem
start
like,
private school.
You know what? We'll go on a quick break so we can fight, and when we come back, the show continues. Stay with us. Breakfast headlines begin in South Nigeria, where River State Administrator Ibok Eteibas has made significant appointments, naming administrators for all 23 local government areas in the state. In addition, Ibas appointed Michael Ode as the new chairman of the River State Independent Electoral Commission. The administrator also approved the reconstitution of several boards of agencies, commissions, and parastatals that had been previously suspended. These moves are expected to help strengthen governance and enhance the state's administrative functions as IBAS continues to make key decisions in the state's leadership. Away from that, Plateau State Governor has revealed that bandits have taken control of 64 communities across the state, particularly in Bokos, Barkin-Ladi, and Riyom local governments. Speaking during an interview on Tuesday, the governor highlighted ongoing attacks which have resulted in over 50 deaths and the destruction of more than 300 homes in the past week alone. The affected communities had previously survived similar attacks in 2023 but are now facing renewed violence despite these long-standing issues which have persisted for over 10 years. The governor expressed frustration over the lack of national attention to the crisis. In the meantime, the village head of Herti in Bokos local government area of Plateau has alleged that gunmen killed 40 persons and displaced more than 1,000 residents during an attack. Maren Aradong said this when the secretary to the Plateau State government led a team of officials of the government on an assessment visit to the community on Sunday in Jos. On April the 2nd, gunmen attacked Herti, Josho, Dafo, and other communities of the locality. Governor Caleb Mutfwang had described the killings as coordinated crimes sponsored by conflict merchants rather than the result of a farmer-herd clash. The plan by Nigeria's federal government to ban the importation of solar panels is generating reactions from stakeholders in the energy and infrastructure sectors. Experts at a news conference in Abuja urged the federal government to consider a gradual phase-out of importation of solar panels, stating that a hasty ban can stall the development of key sectors of the economy. One of those present at the conference, Onoha Nnachi, called on government to participate in the upcoming National Infrastructure Dialogue, which is being organized to deliberate on these concerns, saying that it will strengthen the affected sectors.
Let me give you a typical example. Let's say today, I use panel as an example, that total panel imported into Nigeria on a monthly basis is 10 million. I'm just, for example, I can say, you know what, if I set up these 10 factories and they start production panels, and I know their capacity cannot give me 10 million, but they can give me 2 million, which is 20%. I will say, once this factory starts, your importation will no longer be 10 million, I will reduce it to 8 million. Another set of factories starts that can give me another 2 million, I reduce it to 6 million, and gradually we'll get to that zero. But if you throw that zero in, my brother and sisters, you have opened the floodgate for smuggling.
And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. I am Olive Emodi. We'll now head back to Breakfast Central after this break.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. Time to take a look at the front pages, and the phone lines will be opened for you to be part of the conversation. Don't forget to dial the phone number that you would see on the screen in a short while. But we have joining us today, we do have Mr. Sheson Kwade, who is here with us, public affairs analyst, and one who's wondering what's happening to the Constitution of Nigeria and the way Nigerians are indeed embracing the law. But we'll talk about that in a bit. It's a backroom conversation that we had, all of us in the studio.
We should make it front room.
Yes, yes.
By tomorrow, we're making it a front room conversation.
Yes, we have to. But let's go straight to our very first paper. The leadership is where we're going to go to. Let's see what the paper says on the front page. I'm going to start off at the top. PCC resolves 15,077 cases in 6 months. Good one. That's a good one. 2025 Hajj, Narcan urges peace amid squabbles. I hope you know what's going on with the entire Hajj decision and the story, the press releases and so on. We'll talk about that later on. But let's go to the big one. NCC gives telcos 90 days to resolve unclaimed airtime. And then Nigeria reaffirms one China policy, says Beijing not bully. Presidency defends Nigeria's fiscal federalism, says no universal template. Mismanagement are a real problem. Shatima, we must strengthen our system. Namadi will ensure all our children are in school. Kano Governor Akwa Ibom boasts of impactful policies and so on. But let me just focus on the one I'd like you to start with. Let's look at the current case of insecurity, or cases, because there seem to be way too many, especially starting from the weekend. Bandits attack Sokoto, kill 3 fishermen. That story still on the news, and the likes. Let's start off with that. Insecurity first.
Oh, thank you very much. The level at which we are experiencing this is no longer worrisome. It's becoming something unexplainable, if you ask me. Yes, it has moved from the level of even having attacks on people to the level at which people are depressed, and the level of accidents that takes off life in the last few months becoming too
I mean, last weekend was just terrible.
I hardly want to, from Friday to Saturday to Sunday. So you ask yourself, when will you wake up a day and reduce the, there are people that are dying normally, that is a normal natural causes just to die normal. But the one that is man-made is what is worrisome. Talked about insecurity, talked about depression that leads to people losing concentration even on the road. That's more chaotic because you're just driving your road. Just on my way yesterday, I think to the station, one guy just bumped on me from behind, and I'm like wondering what's the problem. Is to speak to the so much promises from the government that people are not getting. I will continue to emphasize it, that an environment that is not secure, there is no amount of prosperity that you can speak to that. I will always emphasize to say there were periods in this country where people make night travel. I know some people will say people still travel at night, but I'm sure it's a suicide mission, because even traveling during the day is chaotic. You cannot predict what you will meet on the road. And I'll look at it to say, when you get to the road, you will see policemen, and just right behind them, attacks are actually being done. And you say, what is actually happening? I think, was it last week or thereabout, we heard about NSA asking people to come up and defend themselves. Why have we suddenly, or how did we suddenly get to this atmosphere that insecurity is pervading everywhere, and we expect growth to happen? Those days that you can wake up and travel at night, get to the other city in the morning, carry out your business, and come, has gone back. That people are now scared. You cannot even fly. So when you accumulate all those things together, I don't see the economic viability, because you transfer those things into your operating cost, which will definitely increase the cost of practically everything, even if you have to make those things locally.
Yes. How do we get to a point where we say, okay, enough is enough? The killings in Ondo State everywhere, let's have a hard reset and start from a clean slate. Mr. President, clean slate. Mr. President, as we speak, is currently in France on a working visit. For the optics of it, and as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, the buck stops at his table. Do you think he should call off that working visit and return to the country as soon as possible to face matters of urgency? And is it possible, is there any country that is 100% secure, to at least manage this insecurity, which didn't start with this government, to a barest minimum?
Yeah, well, let me pick the question of whether to call Mr. President to come back. We are not in that capacity to advise him. His advisors are there. They are paid to give him the necessary direction.
Yeah, but we're Nigerian citizens.
As Nigerian citizens, every of the advice we've been given, how many of it has worked? So the advisors that are paid to do that, if I'm paid to be his advisor tomorrow, ask me that question, I'll give you the right answer. For those that are paid to carry the edict, you advise him accordingly whether to come back or not. But on the aspect of saying, how do we address this thing? I think it's high time we go to this issue of state policing. If there was a time the IGP came up and said we are not ripe for it. But I think every state has its own peculiarity, and we should address it the way it comes headlong. You cannot call the governor the chief security officer of the state and cannot have 100% control on things that goes on within that area. We have this regional policing structure, the Amotekun, Ibube, and the likes in all the regions. Can we consolidate to say, can every state take responsibility of what goes on so that I can hold the governor? The one that happened in Uromi that led to the killing of Saturday is being fought and back. It's you, it's not me, it's this, it's they are hunters, they are not hunters, and the likes. Can we have state policing enacted? And let's see how we can make use of this particular thing as against the backdrop of this federal character of everybody have to wait from the federal government to take instruction in the area of policing.
Let's hear from Darren, who's calling from Imo State. Good morning, Darren. Please go ahead with your comment.
Thank you so much. I just want to respond to comment made you just did. When do we get to the end of this? When do we call a spade a spade? When we will call a spade is when we say the truth to ourselves. Tell ourselves the truth. These people that are doing all this killing, everybody knows who they are, but we are afraid to call them out. That we all know the particular people doing this killing all over Nigeria. Going to villages in Plateau, going to villages in Enugu State, going to villages in Benue State. But when it comes to the news, people are too afraid to mention their names. I believe if it were to be Igbo people, mentioning their names will be very, very easy. Everyone will show their faces. But because these people are second house, nobody wants to call their names. Until we are ready to call their names, that is when this thing will start solving the problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Darren, for joining us and sharing your thoughts. We'll come back to talk about this more. We'll be heading to Cape Town, where we are hosting the 17th biennial conference is being hosted as the International Association of Women Judges Conference held in Cape Town. And it's happening right now from the 9th to the 12th of April 2025 in Cape Town. We have President Cyril Ramaphosa addressing, and we'll take a live feed from there after, which we'll come back to continue the conversations here.
And to address your conference, whose theme is resilience, women in leadership, to end gender-based violence and femicide. And for me, without being presumptuous, I would have liked to have suggested a slight addition or amendment to your theme and say that the theme should really be women and men in leadership to end gender-based violence. I say so advisedly because there was a time when a woman leader of a women's organization once
that seem to have a little network connectivity issues there, but you can also call in as we go back to the papers. Olive, what paper you be looking at?
All right, looking at the daily, no, let's start with the Daily Times. And Ndome to violate federal character principle, make amends, he says. We also have eulogies as Tinubu, OBJ, Obi, Mon, Pascal Dozier at 85. With Wike, PDP should forget 2027 presidential election, says Governor.
Says
Governor. We're not sure which governor says that exactly. Reps probe CBN over 1.12 trillion naira ABP farmer funds. Natasha, group threatens Senator Nwebonyi with recall. Witness narrates how 3 billion naira Kogi local government funds were allegedly laundered. Governor Zulum Shehu of Borno raised alarm over rising Borno attacks. That's all on the Daily Times. And let's go to the Daily Independent newspaper now.
Okay, I wanted us to touch on the headline
PDP
there.
should forget.
Okay,
yeah.
I think we should move to the Daily Times.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the headline.
So
the recent appointment. I'm just
magic one.
First and foremost, I'm feeling sorry for the copywriter at the Daily Times. Appointment is not apps. Yes, exactly. So if you can't, there's a play on English that you can use to get in all the message. Anyway, let's get to the message proper. the feelers we've been getting from Nigerians, and we do this a lot, which is wrong. Somebody did it. Why didn't you complain when your kinsman was doing it? President Buhari started this. So it's not in your place to say this or highlight this. And also, there's a second leg to it, that the presidency's response to his message. They looked at the message for its merit and everything they saw there, their best response could be. 2 of your kinsmen were appointed into NNPC last week. So, what are you saying? What do you make of this issue of federal character? Just last week, 2 appointments were announced. NNPC GM. Yoruba man from the southwest. Bank of Agriculture. Yes, another young Yoruba
from the southwest.
Man. Yes, from the southwest, and we've seen this play out. Are there constitution? What does a constitution say about this implementation of federal character? Does it only apply to service chiefs and ministers? Does it also apply to ministries and MDAs, or is it left at the president's discretion? Because at this point, people are wondering that this tribe of people only good for heading all those agencies. What happened to all Nigerians? That the president got a pan-Nigerian mandate and not just votes from the southwest. So what's your take?
Yeah, Benga, we'll continue to face this problem until we change the narration. And that the narration is, can we play down this ethnicity that we keep pushing up and down is from the north, and look for merits as against, is a bad precedent left for me. And I've had opportunity in every forum that I go to say, can we speak to more of merit as against this ethnicity of saying is from this side, is from that side. Let's look for the good man that can do the work, and we'll move ahead. That is why you will see killing in this part of the state, and there will be reprisal from the other area, because we are not seeing ourselves as one. And that's the fundamental problem created by our forefathers, to saying we are having intertribal marriage. How do you manage issues to say somebody who is from the southeast has claimed that was born in Lagos, but because she bears Chinyere, who understand the southwest language, you are now saying is from the southeast. She's already part and parcel of us, because she understands the language, she understands everything. I think we should start having a different narration to see how we can have laws that will bring us together to say one Nigeria, and we go on the path of merit.
How else is not doing that?
And why we let it.
No, you need to complete your sentence.
You see, until, and you see a lot of people moving from one place and say you must go to this place to balance it. I feel we should have a reorientation
I totally
and see.
Understand your take on merit. I mean, it should be, but I don't think we're there yet as a country. And also, on that merit argument, people would also tell you that, look, okay, are these the only guys that are...
I'm not supporting the aspect of saying every appointment must be from the southwest, because the last administration gave room for his kingsmen to actually lead, and now it's our turn. We should give. So the next person coming will revert the status quo. And that's why I'm of the opinion that rather than seeing ourselves as different segregation or different ethnic, can we come together to say, well, he's still my brother, he's still your brother, he's still your sister, and with what? Because part of the problem I'm faced with is when a president comes in, or a leader, do you know it's not only even at the federal level, even at the state level, you discover that when some governor comes in, they try as much as possible to concentrate in developing their locality and wait for your own time. When your own people comes in, that's when, and you start seeing certain set of people saying, no, we've actually been shortchanged. And that creates problem when election is coming to say, no, it's our turn. This certain set of people are held this position for certain. So it's not only at the federal level, even at the state level, we are facing that problem. At the local government level, some people will say, even within the local content, you are concentrating on this. Until we consider that fact to say, can we come together as well? It's a very daunting task that is difficult to achieve, but we will not get that there.
They should learn from Breakfast Central. We have federal character, Joe is from Akwa Ibom, Yoruba, and Ade Olive is from UK.
A balanced the Asura combined with the local
very balanced character.
But I feel that's how we should start thinking to see how we can go. People will tell, because what is creating the division every day is I'm from this side, he's from this side, we control the resource, we are not getting value for it. Can we have one Nigeria? The division created by our forefathers. Can we look for a way to bring that?
Does that mean that, do you support what Governor Alex Otti is doing in his state, where he's taking away state of origin and saying, forget about that, it shouldn't be priority in documents and so on. Let's just live as the people of Nigeria and get things done, even if the person is not from our state.
100%. 100%. This state of origin is actually a problem. Tomorrow, even within the Southwest, somebody will say, born and brought up here, and my parents are from another state. They will tell you that you can't claim Lagos because you are not an indigenous of Lagos. But I was born and brought up here.
Exactly.
So this state of origin, we need to just collapse it. And I should have lived all my life, as in all my life. And you have a lot of people like that. That's why I gave that example of somebody from the southeast, somebody from the north. We've had people from the southwest here that were born and brought up in the north. When they speak this Hausa language, you will think that they are from there, but from their name, you might actually come with, oh, this guy is from that other side. So when they now want to do anything, they say, no, you are not entitled to. But we've contributed a lot to the growth of that particular place. So I support you are living everything, the every of your life.
People who are born in Lagos and have lived all their lives in Lagos, that even understand, the system here, the culture, tradition, understand Yoruba language much more than their own indigenous language.
So I feel I support OT in that aspect. If other state governor can adopt that to say, you've been here, we've seen the value that you've actually contributed to it. That's why when the issue of this Boko Haram started, they will say, okay, these people that were actually captured, we will send them back to their state. When the problem, the failure of that particular state actually encouraged those people to go into that act. You are not moving them to another state. So I support Governor Otti. And if other governors can adopt that particular thing, let it be a level playing ground that when you see the compilation of commissioners in a state. I think we've done that in Lagos. We've seen that in Lagos. Although people will say it's cosmopolitan states where everybody is allowed to come in. But I want to go to your state and I see somebody like Chinyere Chukwu, being part of the commissioner. See Ahmed Usman being part of the commissioner, because a lot of them have stayed in that state. They were born there, they grew up there, everything that is expected of them, and we all move together. With that, we start integrating. And before you know it, you won't know that, no, I'm from the north, I'm from the south.
Let's move to Benue now. We have Chimezie calling from Benue State. Good morning, Chimezie. Chimezie, are you still with us?
Oh, we lost that call.
Sorry.
Lost that call.
Sorry, we lost that call.
All right. Let's see if we could take another paper, Daily Trust in particular. This Daily Trust, I think the main header there has gotten a response while we sat here. Borno losing ground to terrorists. Zulum, 3 LGAs under Boko Haram's control. Shehu of Borno says, the governor, like before you came in, we did talk about this on the program just an hour ago. The governor has been screaming out loud that the state is being captured, not by political party, but of course by bandits. Yes, he's been talking about that. The army has responded to this by saying that, while he made this statement, there were also concerns that the army needs to do more. They're not doing enough. But the army also responded in the Punch and said that, oh no, that they're doing a lot. That why is he saying so? But let's look at this. I know we touched on insecurity earlier on, but now we're starting to see it move from a different trajectory. We've seen the north, we've seen the middle belt, which seems to be like, for me, like I said, it's like a dividing line. If you have to move from north, down to the west, you have to pass through the middle. So the middle belt is also suffering. Displacement here and there. The food basket of the nation is now suffering. It's coming down to the southwest, and then we're hearing places like Ondo that was relatively safe and peaceful now being fearful.
Yeah, you see, I'll still take you back to this idea of saying, can we have state policing? If Governor Zulum is raising this alarm and the Nigerian army is responding by saying we are doing a lot, that means there is no sync between the governor and the military apparatus, because there should be a convergence where we will be able to say, oh, they're actually putting in their best is in this area. Who provides the information to the military, and who do they report to? They report to someone who is not in that state, who will come up tomorrow and say, the report from the CSO of the state is false because it is not 3 local government, it's 1 as against 3. And the owner of the house, the owner who presides over the state is saying this is happening. But you know, it will be much more easier for us if Governor Zulum is in charge of the security architecture of that particular state to say both the military, the police, the NCS, DC, and the likes, he has his network, or even the vigilante group. He will be able to speak boldly to say, fine, we have these challenges, but we are working in this direction.
Let's take this call. We have Bethel from Port Harcourt. Bethel, thanks for joining us. You can go ahead.
Hello, Bethel. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Go ahead. Speak up, please, and go ahead.
Talking about the insecurity in Nigeria, I'm still of the opinion that the problem we have till tomorrow is this one Nigeria of the thing. Can you tell me how will some persons come to my community where I call my abode, where I was born and brought up, and kill, maim, and leave without anybody interrupting them? And I still can't find out where somebody will tell me that Nigeria is not right for state police. I think every state should govern themselves. Somebody cannot live as far as where he is, come to my state and to tell me that he is a hunter. Who passed you? Who gave you the pass to come and hunt in my land? See, the problem is, the problem we are having, animals are not being killed. Animals are not being killed. The people being killed are human beings. The same blood that runs through your veins runs through their veins too. And okay, you guys cited the issue of Zamfara state governor. How will a governor not be? The governor said they captured these guys, and the next day they were released. Is it the kind of country we want to run? See, I am the opinion that we should go our separate ways. I'm serious for we to preserve our culture and differences. Somebody cannot carry cow come to your land without any permit to graze. What is wrong with the government? And after the killing, nothing will happen. Nobody will even say anything.
Thank you, Bethel. Thanks for your call. I mean, back to you.
Yeah, you see, if you are able to practice this state policing of a thing, it will bring more innovation on the part of the governor. Speaking to the aspect of identification, you can have a database. You don't just come in freely. People can talk that, are we going now to be taking visa to enter into each state? If you travel to U.S., I'm sure as soon as you're coming in, they are logging in that this is the direction you're going. People are monitoring your activities, and we have a tracker. The fact is, we have technology in place. Are we utilizing it as far as some of the things that we have? If you go on state policing, you have idea of your population, you have idea of the number of security men you need to actually groom. I keep telling individuals that if you look at the way Lagos State handles security, you know we have this Lagos State Security Trust Fund. where you have the RRS, you know, responding to certain issues, not the regular policemen to actually salvage situation. Each state can develop in such a way that you can respond swiftly. And when you now motivate them, so if I'm a policeman in Lagos, and Lagos is taking good care of me, the next thing is that people will be encouraged to join police force. People, I keep saying it, when you look at the level...
They might be posted to another state.
But when it is your state, it is your state. So not the one that they will say quota system. Lagos give us 50, Ibadan give us 10, or you give us 30, and we centralize it and we now dish it out. No, even if it is an Hausa man that resides in Lagos and he wants to join the police force, we will recruit you. But we know you are serving us in Lagos, and the responsibility is there to deliver security to the state. And the CSO officer, who is the governor, is on top of the game. This one that the CP reports to the IGP, get instruction, and the governor is just blank of what instruction is actually going on. We should just minimize it. We've had safer area in some of the states that are actually practicing this. And I think we can take it further by empowering the state in such a way that they can provide the security that is needed.
One of the fears that opponents of state policing would always put up, their argument is that we're not yet ripe, in the sense that some of those governors and politicians will turn them to personal militias and use them to go after their opponents. And you've seen the weaponization of Agbera and poverty during elections. You've seen, so I mean, on paper it sounds like a brilliant idea, but like they said,
they practically, I was about to say that even without you practicing that, those people are emboldened. It is the people that will stand against them. I'm sure at times when some of these people gather,
that they tear gas for just exercising their civic rights in a peaceful way.
The people that tear gas are police from the central. There will be laws. God, the way you police in Lagos is not the same way you want to go and police in Ondo State.
They tear gas them in Abuja too.
When you talk of Abuja, Port Harcourt, Kano, Lagos, they know the kind of people that you actually breed in those areas. And you must give it. You can't go to some states that we all consider, we know how peaceful they can be, and want to use the kind of strategy that you will use in central areas to actually police. And that's why I said there are peculiarities to each state. So when you give that power, see this idea of saying you weaponize it, the state governors will use it against their opponent. If they use it against you and you know what actually you're doing, you will stand your ground and your people will stand with you. And that's the path we need to go. But what we are saying is that we need security. If an area is not secured, you can imagine if the level of kidnapping and killing is on the rise in Lagos, you and I will not be able to go anywhere. And that will hamper on the economic growth. We won't be able to come out and say we are the 6th largest economy in Africa. We won't be able to boast of that. It's because we are experiencing little security. And that's why you can see the extension of going to neighboring states around us, and you can't compare yourself with people. So we must look for a way to say, I'm an advocate of state policing. Whether somebody will hijack it and instrumentality against opposition is a discussion for another day. But can we do something differently and see whether we can have a different result from it, as against just repeating the same thing, posting someone who do not, and language plays a major barrier. Somebody who has actually grown. If you are posted to a state and they are speaking a language you don't understand, you'll be there until they even finish you as a security person. They would have sold you for 1 kobo. I'll just be there looking. But when
Google Translate or Duolingo.
When they are talking to you, you are using Google Translator. What time will you now use to hold the ammunition?
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time with us this morning. Thank you to our callers as well, as many who have been a part of our newspaper review. We're going to a very short break, and when we come back, Breakfast Central continues. Stay with us.
dangerous trend of naming public projects after politicians in Nigeria's political culture is suffering from a dangerous affliction, the growing obsession of politicians who turn public projects into personal monuments. This self-serving habit erodes the spirit of democracy and public accountability, and if we leave it unchecked, it will only get worse. Consider the case of Femi Gbajabiamila. While serving as Speaker of the House of Representatives, he facilitated the construction of a hall of residence at the University of Lagos, funded entirely by taxpayers. The 484-bed landmark students' hostel was subsequently named after him. Let's be clear, this wasn't philanthropy, it was public money. The trend has only accelerated. Governor Babagana Zulum named the 500-unit housing estate in Borno after his counterpart, Governor Maimala Buni of Yobe State. In Ebonyi, the St. Margaret Umahi International Market, bears the name of the late mother of former Governor Dave Umahi. In Akwa Ibom, the iconic 21-story Dakada Towers was renamed Udom Emmanuel Smart Towers as a tribute to one governor to his predecessor. And now President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has taken things entirely to a new level. In just over a year, at least 5 state-funded projects have been named after him, including a newly constructed army barracks in Asokoro. His wife, the First Lady, has not been left out either, with a health care center in Amuodofi now bearing her name alongside other projects. So the question is, who are these projects really for? The public or the politicians? Let's be honest, this isn't a coincidence. It's a deliberate strategy. Politicians are hijacking public infrastructure to cement their names in history. They're using collective resources to build shrines to their egos, not symbols of national progress. This isn't how it used to be. The tradition of naming public projects was once reserved for individuals who made genuine sacrifices, served with humility, and earned the love and respect of their communities. Today, it has been reduced to vanity projects for self-glorification. We must call it what it is: abuse of power. Public service is not a legacy contest. If a leader's work is truly impactful, it will speak for itself without the need for a nameplate. Leadership is about service, not self-promotion. True legacy is built in the lives touched and the system strengthened, and not in how many buildings bear your name. Good morning, Nigerians.
Legacy is built in the lives touched and the systems strengthened, not in how many buildings bear your name. Fantastic.
You know, when I was talking, I was taken aback to what happened in the southern part of Nigeria, where a lot of monuments and a lot of construction was being made. A statue of you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yes.
Well, anyway, you get the point.
Okay, we'll be getting out of the studio.
Absolutely.
It's time for Jackie in a few minutes. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining us always to be a part of Breakfast Central. Please keep joining, keep tuning in. We'll be back again same time tomorrow at 7 a.m. And you can keep up to date with our content on YouTube, News Central TV. Remember, we're live on Go TV 23, so tell someone to tell someone to tell someone. We'll be back again. I'm Olive MOD.
And I'm Joe Hansen. Thanking you for joining us.
And I'm Ben Gabor. See you tomorrow. Over.
I was waiting for the French. I was waiting for the...